Welcome to the UDL Final Session Web Conference. Congratulations on completing the 14-week course. In this session, we want to pause to reflect on new understandings and content that was learned, highlight logistics around the grades and final assignments, review the critical elements of UDL, and tour some digital tools, and discuss what your UDL classroom might look like. We hope that you've built an understanding about how the UDL guidelines can be levers for addressing learner variability and supporting the development of expert learners. Throughout the session, you have shared your reflections and new understandings with other participants through the discussions, and we want to offer a final opportunity to post reflections and review ideas with others, including your facilitator. First, a few logistics. Your final grades will be available for you through the web platform. All passing students, 71 points or higher, will receive an official grade letter from their instructor via email by stating that either 67.5 PDPs or 3 graduate credits have been earned. Students who have registered for graduate credit can view their grades through their registered university. Grades will be uploaded by your instructor no later than 3 weeks after the final assignments are due. We would like to learn your thoughts on this course and welcome your feedback. Please take the final course evaluation, and we also hope you'll email us to let us know how your experience in the course went. What worked well for you? What did not? What could we do to improve on the experience, both in terms of content, platform, and building online discussion communities? You can pause this video now to send an email and share your thoughts to your facilitator. Our emails can be found on your course website. We also want to highlight a few notes about the final assignment. Choose a lesson you'd like to adjust or revise to better meet the needs of learner variability in your classroom. This can be a lesson you've observed or taught yourself, or you can pick from one of the following websites available on your course. Then you will evaluate the lesson. First, be sure to indicate the intended goals, as this will impact the methods, materials, and assessments. It will also influence reflection on which of the UDL guidelines and their associated checkpoints, multiple means of engagement, multiple means of representation, and multiple means of action and expression, which are most relevant to have. Please take time to describe which checkpoints are present, which additional checkpoints will be included in the revised lesson, and which checkpoints are not present in the original nor revised lesson. For the checkpoints that are not present, describe why each checkpoint isn't included in the revised version. Remember, not all checkpoints necessarily need to be addressed in a particular lesson, but each checkpoint should be considered in your lesson analysis in relation to your learning goal. Then the fun begins. Design the new lesson. Develop a plan for how you will adjust or revise the lesson using the UDL framework. Finally, summarize. Provide a summary of your redesigned lesson. Include the challenges you might encounter in the revised lesson and ideas about how you will address those challenges. You will present your work to others in the course. The way you choose to present your work is up to you, but remember that the purpose of this assessment is for you to demonstrate your understanding of how to use the UDL framework. Be sure that the medium you choose is selected carefully and set up to clearly demonstrate your understanding. Choose one of the options below or email your instructor if you want to discuss alternatives. You can fill out a guided worksheet, use UDL Exchange, a tool for developing lessons, create a PowerPoint or Prezi presentation, no longer than 10 slides or transitions, create a Glogster web poster, create a wiki or website, produce a video, no longer than 5 minutes, or write a paper, no longer than 5 pages. There are example lesson worksheets and example lesson checklists available on the course site. Please take time to review those. Also, be sure to see the final assignment rubric for the criteria that your instructor will use to assess your work. That was a lot of information. Please pause the video to review any of the information or to locate the information on your course website. Please email any questions to your instructor. Now we want to take time to review some of the core values of UDL that were shared throughout the course. Again, please feel free to pause the video to make notes or add ideas to a discussion forum. These ideas are quick summarizing ideas, and feel free to also share your own suggestions for key takeaway core concepts. Today's classrooms represent great variability among students. Note that this idea goes beyond the idea of a student having a designated learning label or style. Instead, we recognize that there is variability even for the simplest of tasks, and each person will have unique brain network activity. Curriculum needs to reflect the variability of all learners and support all learners in achieving high standards. Instead of putting the onus of change on the learner, UDL challenges us to put the burden of change on the curriculum, the materials, methods, and assessments. UDL is a framework for designing curricula that enable all individuals to gain knowledge, skills, and enthusiasm for learning. That is how UDL defines expert learners. And the UDL guidelines help educators have a framework for thinking about what it means to be expert. The ultimate goal of instruction is to develop expert learners. Take a look at this version of the UDL guidelines. It has all the checkpoints removed, and it has the 9 UDL guidelines and the UDL definition of expert learners. Expert learners are resourceful and knowledgeable. They're able to know how to perceive, build language, and background comprehension. They are strategic and goal-directed. They are able to know how to take action, express and communicate, and use executive function skills. Finally, expert learners are purposeful and motivated. They are interested, can sustain effort, and self-regulate towards tasks. Each student will build these skills in unique ways. The curriculum should be replete with options that help students learn strategies to achieve the high learning goals. What are your thoughts on the following questions? Reflect on whether the statement is true or false and why you think so. True or false? I have to address every UDL guideline in every lesson I do in my classroom. This is false. You do not have to address every UDL guideline in every lesson you do in your classroom. Depending on the learning goal or objective, use the UDL guidelines that are most relevant and supportive of those. For example, if there is a lesson that does not engage students typically, perhaps begin with the engagement guidelines. If there is a lesson or lab activity that typically doesn't run smoothly, perhaps start with action and expression. True or false? If I keep letting students choose the options they're most comfortable with, they'll never challenge themselves to learn anything new. False. Letting students choose the options they are most comfortable with does not mean they won't challenge themselves to learn something new. With options designed into the lesson from the beginning, you can proactively encourage students to take new risks or try new strategies. True or false? I may still do differentiated instruction while implementing UDL. True. You may still do differentiated instruction while implementing UDL. The two frameworks align nicely. You can use UDL to proactively design lessons with options for engagement, representation, and action and expression. You may still need to differentiate once the students are working. However, remember that a strategy you design for one student may benefit other students. UDL encourages you to make it available for all students. Here's another true or false. Technology is essential for implementing UDL. False. Technology is not essential for implementing UDL, but it does make it easier. Think, for example, about how a tool like Google Translate, although not a perfect translator, it can effortlessly let a student access text at the touch of his or her fingers. This makes the language and therefore the content more accessible to everyone. We could absolutely translate without the technology, but it often takes more effort. There are many tools that help educators achieve learning goals. Remember, there is not one tool that will work for everyone, and there is not one tool that allows you to do UDL. Instead, reflect on what your goal is for the tool. Then you can reflect on how that tool supports you or your students towards that goal. For instance, Class Dojo is a classroom tool that can help teachers improve behavior in their classrooms quickly and easily. It also captures and generates data on behavior that teachers can share with parents and administrators. Better learning behaviors, smoother lessons, and hassle-free data, and it's free. However, how it's shared and used with the class will vary and should always be in support of high-level learning goals such as self-regulation. Socrative is a smart student response system that empowers teachers to engage their classrooms through a series of educational exercises and games via smartphones, laptops, and tablets. Let us know how you might use or integrate this tool in your classroom. What other tools do you find useful for specific learning goals you have? Vuvox is another tool that is an interactive collage creator. Again, think about your learning goal. How does this tool provide options in representation, action and expression, and engagement towards your goal? How can it be integrated into a learning experience so all students can have the option to use it? Another tool is called Dippity, a timeline creator. Depending on your learning goal, you may find this tool to be an alternative way for students to build background comprehension or to show what they know. Easly.ly is a way to visually share ideas, a nice option for representation, and may help some students visualize and highlight key patterns. Nook Study is a free online reader and organizer. Depending on your goal, how could Nook Study help students in perception, action and expression, and engagement? Notice how the UDL guidelines can overlap and be used together to provide options that support the variability of learners. Finally, VoiceThread is an online tool that allows students and teachers to communicate and share stories or conversations by writing, drawing, speaking, or video options. The options for action and expression can be engaging for some students. We hope that you continue to have conversations with other educators and CAST about universal design for learning and tools that help you design effective lessons that support learner variability. CAST has several ways to keep in touch with us and educators around the world. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and YouTube. And if you use Twitter, use hashtag UDL in your tweets. There's also a hashtag UDL chat the first and third Wednesdays of the month from 9 to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. This concludes the final UDL 14-week video. Best of luck for your final assignment. Please email any questions to your instructor. In addition, we do hope to stay in touch and learn how you're applying UDL theory in your practice. Thank you.